Can we go back in there?
And it literally had to look like a ghost.
When we get over here, on that corner over there, did you see it when the graveyard was here? Because that's the church. You can say, did you see it when the graveyard was here before they put the road? Because that's the church.
Everything going on with yours?
Shine your lights. Huh? Did you turn it down?
No, I mean, just about plain static.
You guys can keep walking. Coochie coochie. What was that? Hoochie coochie.
It was from King Brown's so
Oh.
about the country music.
Yeah.
What were the names?
And did you see the graves before they covered them? And is this road behind us over top of graves?
Did you hear? You heard Mary Johnson?
Yes.
And are there graves under this road back here?
What's he doing over here? Watching laser.
We asked the names of her parents.
What do you get?
We heard Mary Johnson.
Correct.
No way, really?
So we had Willie show up over there. The father's name was William, and you just heard Mary. It was William and Mary. It wasn't Mary Johnson, but it was.
Yeah.
So you have to remember too. This is how I explain this. So with these spirit boxes being as slow as they are, what color is the big red barn? Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer.
And
we don't
it's
need.
so hard to
Yeah.
pick it up. It's
Yeah,
so hard
it's
to
not
even
easy.
catch something.
But you did hear Mary,
Yep.
which is a direct, obviously, because we have Willie. Willie isn't William, but
Right.
that's damn close.
Yeah.
And you have Mary.
Yep.
So again, they came from two different spirit boxes. You were both asking the same questions.
That's all.
Did you get anything else out of it?
When we were standing there and you were talking, her and I both heard 32. What that was?
I don't know. I'm going to write it down. It may have been
Hoochie
Mary's
coochie.
age.
Hoochie coochie. They heard the new hoochie coochie song.
Yeah.
I'm going to write down Mary Johnson full, just so everybody can kind of see how that works.
Yeah, that's what they should
That could have been Mary Reed's age when she passed away. I'll have to look to see her exact, like, because with this being lore, it's a question mark of the exact year. So I'll kind of look into it and see if it was an exact whatever, since you did hear Mary. So I'll look at 32.
Yeah, the 32 was when you were over there talking about, I think, the third wife, or second wife. Or second
bow.
Yeah.
Got it. But yeah, we're going to give this another minute since you guys actually did get answers. Go after the ship's name at this point, Calico Jack's ship name.
Okay.
So see if you can get anything out of that. That's a hard one because we don't always get that answer.
Okay.
So, but I'll call you guys back in just a moment.
Okay. And what was the name of Calico Jack's ship?
Just try maybe say it and word it differently a few times.
What's the name of the ship you were on?
Of Calico Jacks. And what was the name of Calico Jack's ship that you traveled on?
Every time we mention the ship, it's all static. You can barely make out any of it.
Is it turned up all the way?
Yeah, like that's all you hear is static. As soon as you mention the ship. Because like you can hear stuff now. And what was the name of Calico Jack's ship? Go straight to static.
Riley, you asked. Maybe she don't want to talk to us.
Yes? What was the name of Calico Jack's ship?
And what was the name of Calico ship?
Back to static. That is cool.
Let's walk somewhere else. Just keep asking as you're walking. And what was the name of Calico Jack's ship?
But it does that.
Point your laser against the, and I'll look straight across against the wall. And what was the name of Calico Jack's ship that you rode on? Got pregnant on? And what was the name of the ship that you dressed like a man on?
Straight static.
And what was the name of the ship that you befriended that other lady that was dressed like a man? What was her name?
Back here first to give you the history because a lot of other tours like to come up here, so we're just going to stay out of their way. We're going to be discussing that little tiny building over there. That's the powder magazine. So those are not crosses on that building, by the way. Those are earthquake bolts. If you're unfamiliar with earthquake bolts, basically if we have another earthquake like what we did in 1886, which we have not, you can turn them. They're turnbuckles. It's supposed to straighten the building back up again. It's a great idea, it just doesn't work very well. So again, the only reason I bring these up is because these are the first set of earthquake bolts that Charleston put in, because this is the oldest government building in South Carolina. It was finished in 1713. This is the original structure. So it held gunpowder for 7 different wars and 1 rebellion. We talked about those Charlestown walls earlier. So when we were back at Lodge Alley, where that garage is where the walls actually stood. It actually came up Cumberland Street, just past the powder magazine, and started going south behind me. It puts the powder magazine in the corners of the wall on purpose, protecting it because it's holding gunpowder. So in the event that pirate ships or Revolutionary warships come up to the water, they're 3 blocks away. It's going to have a hard time getting their cannonball all the way up here. So that's part of the reason why it's all the way as far away into the wall as it can be, but the walls are 32 inches thick. They're not going to have a hard time going all the way through, even if they do make it this far. Or we're going to pretend that that cannonball from the water goes all the way through and blows up the gunpowder. There's sand in the roof from its early construction of the early 1700s that was put there to go up with the explosion, because it's not going to go out through the thick walls and then fall to put out the fire of the gunpowder once it's exploded. That's another great idea, but it doesn't work. The reason I bring that up is because the sand is still there. Sand doesn't disintegrate. It's not hot enough here for that thing to be compressed and turned into glass. So it is still sand. But we are here because this building was being constructed at the same time that Anne Bonny came to Charlestown. So let's kind of get into that. In the middle of this construction, 1708, a young lady moves here from Ireland. Her name is Anne Cormack. She moves here with her father and his mistress. The mistress is her mother. Is everybody with me so far? There's a couple of little twists in here. I like to slow down on them. Now the 3 of them, Anne, the father, and the mistress, are running away from his wife. So how angry was she that she got to leave the country from Ireland to land over here? Just pointing that out. But they land in Georgetown. and Dad buys a plantation. Mom dies pretty quickly. That means he's sending young Anne down here to Charlestown to be able to sell anything from the plantation to keep things afloat. Now, Anne back home in Ireland, she's kind of a badass. She actually killed one of her servants when she was only 10 or 12 years old with a knife to the belly. Like, this chick's pretty hardcore. I just put that in your brain so you kind of have that idea about her through the whole story. We're going to fast forward. The building is finished in 1713. Pirates are coming through town in 1715. Anne's going to fall in love because she wants her freedom just like a man. Guy number one, yes, I'm going to keep tally. There's that many. Guy number one turns out to be James Bonney. You already know where this is going because we already mentioned Anne Bonney's name and we thought we saw her across the street. So, Dad doesn't approve of this young man because he's a filthy pirate. So they run away to Jamaica and they get married. Anne Cormac is now Anne Bonney, your famous female pirates. But this guy is not Captain Jack Sparrow like she was hoping for. This guy is a privateer. He's a spy for the British. He's a coward. This is not who she wants. So she falls in love again a few years later. Guy number two, John Rackham, a.k.a. Calico Jack. This is literally the Captain Jack Sparrow kind of person she was looking for because this is the real person that they based that character off of. Calico Jack has his own ship and wants to be part of it. You can't put a girl on the crew. Does anybody know why? Girls are bad luck on a pirate ship. You can't put a girl on the crew. So he makes a deal with her. If you dress like a guy, you could be part of the crew, but you're going to be a female in my quarters. She's okay with this because Dad used to cross-dress her as a boy back home in Ireland, so that way he can hide her from his wife. So she's like, whatever, I'm part of the society, it's a man's world, let's do this. Most of us are adults here, we can put two and two together. Being a female in Jack's quarters, she's eventually going to get pregnant. You cannot have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Somebody's going to figure out that she's a girl. So he drops her off in Cuba because Jack can't have his crew know that there's a girl there. So he drops her in Cuba, says have the baby, come back later, we'll figure it out. She goes and has the baby, but comes back with no kid. We have no idea what happened to the baby. There's no record of him anywhere, or her. But she's also dressed like a female when she does come back. This makes Jack pretty angry because now everybody's going to know that she was a girl on the crew. And while she was away, Jack captured another pirate crew down below deck. Anne's going to go flirting because that's what Anne does. Guy number three. Guy number three turns out to be a female dressed like a guy to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack just captured. So now we have two females dressed like males on the same ship trying to be pirates. Her and this young lady's name is Mary Read, by the way. Her and Mary become friends, possibly lovers. We're never going to know for certain. And the British find out where they are. They send a fleet of ships to come down and take out one pirate ship. But Anne and Mary are the only two pirates not drunk enough to come up and fight with their one-bullet flintlocks because they probably don't know how to use the cannon jets. They're not pirates for very long. So, obviously, two young ladies trying to take on a fleet of ships is not going to work out. They get arrested by the British. And as they're being arrested, Anne looks at her captain, Calico Jack, and says, you should have fought like a man instead of being hanged like a dog. The word dog shows up here quite often. It actually showed up here last night on the word list, just so you guys know. But anyway, the judge, his name is Nick as well, so if you guys hear my name, it's not me, it's usually relative to him. He wants to see the two men that fought back so violently after he's tried and hung Calico Jack and the drunk pirates that wouldn't fight. So Anne and Mary go in front, they reveal their gender. He doesn't care that they're female. They're still pirates. He's still going to hang them. We plead our bellies, was the last thing they said, meaning they're both claiming to be pregnant. You can't hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal. So he sends them both back to jail and delays the hanging. Dad is still here in the Charlestown area with all of his Irish money, so he bails out Anne and brings her back home. She remarries. It's husband number two, but guy number four. I guess we're going to count Mary Read because we don't know. She has 4 kids and dies at the age of 84. That's all we know about Anne. Yes, it's a very abrupt ending. Mary Read, she dies a year later in 1721 in that Jamaican jail from whatever pirates died from in a Jamaican jail. Some say it was just fever, but I'm sure it was very scurvious and gross and nasty. Use your own imaginations on that one. So, I only left out 2 questions here because you guys all know what you do with your spirit boxes by now. Even though we're struggling to hear things, you guys get the gist of how we ask questions to them. So, spirit boxes, I left out the name of Anne Bonney's parents. That's the father and the mistress. And I also left out the name of Calico Jack's ship. So if you guys want to start with those questions, everything else is fair game. Like, Rush, you're pretty good about coming up with your own questions, like what you did at the Pink Dimension site. It'll be curious to see what kind of answers you get out of that. Keith, as far as your device, I want you to focus on the color of Anne Bonney's hair. See if she'll show you the color with the little flickering lights at the top. Again, one of the few times we've ever actually gotten the color red was when we asked her directly, and this is an Irish woman. The only pictures of her do depict her with red hair. So again, it's very interesting. We got that answer about 2 weeks ago. I've been testing it ever since to see if we can get it again. It's been coming out of other spirit boxes, but I really want to try to get it out of that millimeter. As far as the cameras go, you guys can leave the lot. Go to the front where the exit is, make a left up the sidewalk, and check out the front of the powder magazine. Again, we're going to know within the first 5 to 7 minutes if something's actually going on here or not. Otherwise, it'll just be recordings for us all to review after I, obviously upload everything. But crank up those spirit boxes. As far as the cameras, the only thing I'll ask is that make sure you stay out of the way of the other tours. So let them tell their story and move on. That way you can go up there and get some clear footage. Lasers can be used in the front lawn if you'd like. Just make sure you stay on the lawn, like through the gates and on the lawn of the front powder magazine. But let's spread out. I'm going to actually head towards that wall and drop the bag for a few, and then see, start spot checking with you guys to see what's going on.
Dad, me and Mom.
We'll go over there. He said he's going over here. Remember, 32.
32.
Huh?
32?
Yeah.
So that's what we both heard.
This is tough. Did you do this?
Yeah.
This is tough for my brain.
Yeah.
It's hard for my hands.
Really tough.
I can do it. Stay with me.
Don't do what me and Mom did. We had a part. Go ahead,
You can go. You can go. We're going to go that way.
Yeah, I'll go through the park.
Okay.
What are you supposed to be asking her? I mean, what are you supposed to be asking?
And what was the name of Calico Jack's ship? This one doesn't put out the grid on the grass.
Do you need the grid though? Alright, what are you going to ask it?
And what was the name of Calico Jack's ship?
And did you like it on the ship?
And did you like it on Calico Jack's ship? And what were the names of the cats?
But with that said, this place is Philadelphia Alley. It used to be called Dueler's Alley. So we all talk about the specific duel that occurred down here because we can actually prove that it actually happened. So I'm going to tell you the story a little bit differently because, of course, you're ghost hunting. You're not just going through a regular ghost tour. You're going to need different details for your spirit boxes. Let's get into it. There's a doctor that moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd. He moves down here because he's supposed to get married to his fiancée, Amanda. Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. She has an attorney that's helping her out with all of this cash. So the attorney thinks that Dr. Ladd is just after Amanda's money. So he tells Amanda, get rid of the doctor. So the doctor moves to Charleston to prove that he's not just after Amanda's money. And as he was coming into town, the coachman that he was riding with actually set him up to be robbed and killed. So it wasn't a very good start to his stay in Charleston. So what happened from there was somebody was walking by. His name was Ralph Isaacs. I'm going to stop on Ralph because you're ghost hunting. Initials mean something. Ralph has the same initials as where the doctor came from. Rhode Island, Ralph Isaacs. RI shows up here all the time. Usually part of it shows up on the word list that's broken for us tonight. So again, we usually get the I on somewhere else. So again, two main characters. Secondary verifier will tell us which character it belongs to. However, Ralph tells the doctor, dude, you don't want to stay here. There's a gunman inside. He's going to try to kill you. I know this guy. and he's going to try to take all your money. But I got friends at 59 Church Street. You can stay there, and you'll be safe and good to go. The doctor takes him up on the offer, and the two become friends. But as the doctor stays here, he's making a lot more money. His practice starts to take off, which means Amanda's moving down soon. Dr. Ladd becomes known as the whistling doctor. Now, every haunted city you're ever going to visit in the future is going to have a cliched whistling ghost. I can almost guarantee it. We all have one. However, there is proof of this one particularly, and I'll get into that. But him and Ralph go see plays together, but they can't sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money. Just the way the hierarchy worked back in Charleston. He gets better seats. They go see Richard III one night, and they're walking home talking about the new actress that was in town. Dr. Ladd thought she was fantastic. Ralph, not so much. Gets a little even more heated when Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiance in the middle of the argument. They get pretty mad at each other and go their separate ways. Ralph, being from here, puts an ad in the newspaper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. Kind of like a he's a disgrace and takes all of our money kind of mentality. And the doctor sees the ad and rebuttals with, let's go to Jeweler's Alley and settle this. Somebody's going to die. So they come down and they take their 10 paces, they turn, the doctor pointed his gun in the air and he shot. He did not want to kill his friend. He just needed the courage and bravery to show up to the fight, which is often what happened during a duel, by the way. Ralph, however, has his one shot, and he puts it in the kneecap on the doctor. So the doctor didn't die either, but Ralph proved his point that he's still pretty pissed off. The doctor drops, but his friends pick him up and carry him home to 59 Church Street, where he died 10 days later. Probably from bleeding out the bullet himself, because he's a doctor. He did refuse medical treatment. So again, the campfire part of the story is that you can walk down there and hear the whistles from the doctor. I will tell you, if you're going to try this on your own, use your voice recorders from your phone and kind of see what goes on. I will tell you that every local knows this story. Anybody walking up and down Cumberland or Queen Street from the other side throws a whistle down the alley whenever they walk past it. I do it every single night when I'm done touring with you guys. So we're going to end up there. My garage is right there. So I always throw a whistle down the alley every single night. However, I used to take my groups all the way through there, and it was all about using the voice recorder, so that way you guys can actually listen in and see if the whistles are there. We do have some that we were able to debunk pretty quickly from people throwing the whistle, but there are some faint whistles in the background. The funny thing is about me telling the story out here for the past 2 years, we will get songs on our spirit boxes that have whistling in them. For those of you that remember the Guns N' Roses song Patience, it's got whistling in it. The Maroon 5 song, Moves Like Jagger, has whistling in it. Those are just two common songs that we'll hear just the whistle. The Whistling Doctor. We hear it all the time. We'll also get the number 59 a lot because of the address of where the doctor stayed. That's why I emphasized it when I told it to you. So here's how I got booted out, because this is the fun part. The alley didn't always go all the way through, so that means the bricks on the other side are older. Those bricks are sun-dried bricks from slave children. There's a full handprint from a slave child and fingerprint swipes on some other bricks. And I would always point them out because I'm sure you guys all figured out by now I'm all about the history. It's got to be accurate. So I'd always point them out because it just shows how far we've come as far as away from slavery as we could. Now, every night somebody wanted to put an EMF detector or a spirit box in the air trying to get some kind of reading out of it. But I treat those bricks the same way I do a grave. That kid's not staring at the brick in the afterlife. One night, November 26th of 2020, my entire team decided to huddle around one brick with a handprint in it and try to get a reading. Well, it's outside a gentleman's dining room window of his beautiful mansion. He was not very happy with me. Come out screaming. So, my daughter thought it was great because Dad's getting yelled at, but we were out of bounds. So, again, I was in the wrong. So we left. The next day was Thanksgiving. I did not have a tour. The next day after that was November 28th. Yes, these dates are important. I'm getting to it. November 28th, I get a phone call asking me to go down halfway or reroute the tour. So I decided to reroute because it's not fair for you 10 to try to work around 20 to 60 people. So I'm sure you can see that much skinnier space, half the alley. So I tell my team, I don't even believe the story I'm about to tell you, but we're going to see what happens and kind of wing it. So we get up there, and before we leave, somebody hears the name Ann on a spirit box. I did not tell my team that we were going to be investigating the female pirate Ann Bonny. Again, I thought, okay, maybe we have something going on. We get up there, somebody else hears the number 300. I don't know what's going on. What?
There's a lady across the street.
Female pirate.
Is that Ann Bonny?
It's not Ann Bonny. That is so funny. You're like pointing at me. I'm like, what did I do? We get up there, and again, the number 300, I researched the next day. We were there on November 28th of 2020. Ann Bonny's trial for piracy was November 28th of 1720. We were there on the exact 300-year anniversary of her pirate trial. So I keep taking you guys back up there.
It was over here?
That was actually at the next space we're going to. The only reason I tell you about this story of why I got booted out is because it's relevant of I started touring there on the exact 300-year anniversary of her pirate trial. So again, it wasn't a story I believed in. It was a matter of I thought it was a kind of a rumor and one of those myths and legends. So I've read more books on pirates to try to find more facts on pirate lore as I possibly could so we can investigate. So, if anything, you guys are going to learn a whole hell of a lot about pirates and not how they dress across the street. So, with that said, have we heard anything on our spirit boxes that you guys actually have running? Because I have some of you guys listening in. Did you guys hear anything? Well, we don't have the word list tonight, so that's kind of a bummer. Anything coming up on yours, Madison, or were you focused on me? Seems like you were focused on me. Perfect. All right. Let's go learn about crazy pirates. In this last stop, we're going to be doing a lot. Every piece will be back in play like what we did at the Pinckney Mansion.
Why don't you jump out of a bush?
What's that?
Leave the song as we go.
You can unmute it, yeah. I definitely want you listening in until we get to that space. All right, let's head up and go learn about some crazy pirates.
Oh, that's even too much for my brain.
It's too much for me, so. I did hear it back, but after that, it turned to a different song.
Well, you're not going to
Like a
hear
different radio.
the whole thing. You're going to hear a piece of it. That's what I keep telling you. What did you hear?
Back.
Back?
Yeah.
What's that?
Back. Going back. I don't know.
Did you turn it down again? You gotta keep it loud, right?
Go that far back, that was the original coin and the original banks in Italy. I went to all of that stuff, like Marco Polo, anything that was 14, 15, 1600s, I was all over it. So very interesting conversations you guys are going to have on your audio tomorrow morning. So talking about Netflix specials. So what we were talking about was pirates, obviously. So there's a documentary on Netflix that's absolutely amazing. It's like watching a movie. It's called The Lost Kingdom of Pirates. So it's pretty accurate from all the things that I've read. So you have to imagine, like I said, I've read a lot of books since I actually had that first investigation here. So what have we heard or seen along the way? Russ, you got anything?
Repair damage.
Repair and damage. I like it.
What'd you hear?
I heard back. That was it.
Back?
Back.
Okay. My back is fine, other than it being sweaty. So we don't need to repair it. It's not damaged. Anybody else hear anything?
I heard church.
You're going to get a lot of religious terms over here because we're close to the church. And that is Church Street, just so you have that idea. All right, so welcome to the Powder Magazine. We're going to be... There you go.
Okay.
All right, so what we're going to do with the lasers is you're going to stand... Let's have you come down this way and stand right in front of that pipe, against the wall there, and shine one of your lasers against the wall this way, and you're going to... Perfect. You're going to be shining your camera, right down the middle of the alley. What we're looking for here is any kind of motion that's going to show into here, so kind of everybody knows what we're looking for. So, when we cross that last crosswalk coming down, that's what original Charlestown Wall used to be. So, Charleston used to be called Charlestown, the walled city. You're standing on one of the first streets we ever had. So,
That's still original.
Still the original bricks, 1739. So people are actually going to pass through here, by the way. We will not film them, and obviously we'll fill the laser copy, so you got that right. So with that said, why I asked you for names is because I have the full list of residents of every single person that's ever lived down here. The names I commonly hear on the loop down here are Benjamin and John. Now, Benjamin and John both lived down here in 1801. I have no other significance about Benjamin and John other than the time frame that they actually lived here. So the interesting thing is I get those names, you guys get those names every 6 to 7 weeks. We are on like week 6 of the loop of the last time that I actually heard them. So when we get those names, here's what we're dealing with. You're standing on Belgian blocks. It's a good thing you brought up the bricks. These bricks are what I'm calling the stone tape theory. Okay, it is an actual paranormal theory. Here's how it works. Because these bricks have been here for a few hundred years, it is said that they're hanging on to the consciousness and memories of the things that occurred here. Hence why we get the same names over and over and over again. And when I say, by the way, when people live down here, only like 5 people live down here at a time. So again, Benjamin and John, that's 2 out of 5 people that lived here in 1801. So pretty good chances it's the same Ben and John. If we're ever unclear, John likes to give us his last name, which is Johnson. His name was John Johnson. So again, we will get Ben, John, and Johnson all in the same evening. Now, here's the interesting thing. The bricks that we're standing on, because they've been here for so long, and they're made out of granite, by the way, which means they're not supposed to have any kind of electrical charge to them whatsoever. So Kate, I'm going to have you set your device on any brick that you choose. Don't worry about that back button. We're worried about the numbers. So literally set your device on the ground. Any brick you want to. We should not get anything above a 1.1, which is natural EMF from the earth. So if we get anything above that 2.5, super exciting. Last time we actually got it all the way up to an 8 by just letting it hang out there for a minute or two. Again, granite, even when you break it apart, does not release an electrical charge like, say, quartz or magnetite. So again, these are rocks that are natural from the earth that will create electricity when you break them. Even if you're next to them, you're still going to get an electrical charge. Granted, you're not supposed to get anything, which is what these bricks are made out of. Have you gotten anything out of that guy yet? 1.6. Okay, so that's still kind of a natural kind of deal.
4.3.
4.3?
Can I interject?
Yes.
Well, I turned it on when you told me. I walked that way. I walked by that right there. It's the closed door. 2 minutes ago, the lady just came out and closed the door.
I see that.
They said, "Oh, you want to?" It was a woman's voice that said, and there was an African American on this thing that said, "Close the door." In 3 minutes, the door shut.
Like its exact time.
I think it was
It's 10:16.
exactly.
Before people lived here, like I told you, I have the full list, and again, it's not very lengthy. The Freemasons had a Masonic lodge here, hence the name Lodge Alley. So we will get terms wrapped around the Freemasons as well, like Freemason, Mason, brick, symbols, and the word Illuminati loves to show up on your red spirit boxes, the one using the earbuds. Now, first off, I'll ask you, who the hell's talking about the Illuminati on the radio? Because that's what we're listening to. Second, why do we only hear it when we're in this space? I don't hear it in any other location. We have verifications of 6 times last year's tours, 3 times so far in the tours this year. So again, that's 9 times total that the word Illuminati has been heard in this space. So there's no exact rhyme and reason to the stone tape theory with that. That's a random. But Benjamin and John are definitely on that loop.
But these stones right here,
Yes.
back, these are original.
1739 that we know of. Again, it's speculated that it could be earlier, but we know that they've been here at least since 1739.
Wow.
Now, the next space we're going to go to, go ahead and kill your lasers, but I want to keep the footage going. When we walk out. We're going to go to another alley. However, we can't go all the way through it like what we're doing here. Why? Because I've been kicked out. You guys have the blinky lights and the flashing and the noisemakers. It is considered residential at the end. We took the, did you guys, somebody take like an alley tour?
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully you've probably already seen this one coming up is Philadelphia Alley. I'll tell you how I got booted out of there, but I definitely want you guys listening to your spirit boxes along the way. You can go ahead and pick up your device if nothing above 4.3 has come up on there. But we're going to be cutting through a neighborhood to get to that next alley, so we want to make sure we cut off the video. So the 2 of you will be stopping the video as we exit. So that way we're not filming people's houses, just like their cars. But everybody else, definitely pay attention to your spirit boxes, and the EMF meters are still going to go off because of the parking meters that we on the street. So you can ignore your numbers and colors yet again. But again, it's a little humid down here, so I want to kind of get us out of this tight space. So let's move up this way. Any other wet drips coming up on you, Bobby?
You want me to turn this off here?
Yeah. Let's kind of go back to the back of the space, and we'll get all the answers back out to everybody since I wasn't able to fully follow it. All right, guys, come on back. Let's get you guys some answers. All right, so.
Turn this off.
29.3. Holy cow. Good stuff.
She came up with some good stuff. You know what year she was born?
I do.
What year?
I'm going to go through that.
We'll get to that. I'm sorry. I thought I heard something, but we'll get to that.
Yes, and you'll be able to verify it for me.
Yeah, we may.
So I want to point something out because the device I gave over to Renee, everybody come on over so I can kind of show you this because it just did it all over again even though I uninstalled the app and restarted it. She was only getting the name Eliza that was popping through on that digital spirit box word list. And then this thing is supposed to have 36,000 terms in it because I paid for it to have 36,000 terms and phrases in it. When Renee and I went through it together, there was only one word in it, Eliza. I went to a custom dictionary that I never touched because I'm not here to make things up and fake things for you and have the name Eliza through our whole tour. It actually had, 58 Elizas in there. I uninstalled it after deleting all those words and it did it again. The only thing in here is the name Eliza 57 times. So again, I have no idea what's going on with this. We're not going to be using the one on here.
Does 57 represent anything?
It does not, unfortunately. I thought of that too. I will tell you that the number 58 does. So damn close, because we had it 58 times over there, and then when I saw the 57, I'm like, well, that's one less than what we had, because that was my first thought. But 58 does represent Charles Pinckney's year that he died in, the husband, so 1758. So, but again, I'm going to be running this same app on my phone and see if we have any differences there. Again, we've already talked. She's going to be helping Maya out with her very difficult spirit box. So I'm going to put this one away, but we are going to go and cover the answers. Those of you with video cameras, go ahead and hit the stop button on them. For yours, it's going to be the button on the right, the only circle.
What? Huh?
Green one,
She knows she can walk with us, right?
I got one good drink. I hope
Bobby, go over there next to him. Look at all that stuff next to him. No, you stay right there. Let Dad go over there next to him.
They're out there. Where's the country? Because he said that's where over there. And he said that's where the house.
You know what? Whose name is she supposed to say? Elijah? That's the girl? Okay, so say that now. First. They're going to be backing out, right? Elijah. Why did, or how did you, right?
Yeah, say Elijah and how did you die?
Here, let me have that other ear thing.
How old were you when you died?
Elijah. Elijah, how old were you when you died? Huh? I'm not worried about who's singing. I'm trying to hear what. Elijah, how old were you when you died? Elijah, how did you die? What else? That's all?
Say Elijah, who was the president.
Oh, you want me to do it? 'Cause she don't even know what a pallbearer is. Elijah, who was the president that was a pallbearer at your funeral?
How's the spirit box work going over here?
Nothing's really coming through yet.
Are you hearing the radio stations pop
Yeah.
up? Okay. So again, it's whatever the DJs and song lyrics were saying. So, okay, just want to make sure, because sometimes it is hard to do, but sometimes people aren't understanding, like, it is the DJs. They're like, I'm only hearing the radio. I'm like, that's what you should be hearing. So I just want to make
You
sure.
just gotta point out.
Right.
I just started listening, so.
Okay, good deal. All right, Russ, anything coming up on yours yet?
If it was quiet now, it wouldn't be so hard. Alright, you ready? Elijah, who was the president that was a pallbearer at your funeral? Let's go over there for it. Well, I haven't over there though.
Yeah, but just
Elijah, how old were you when you died? Elijah, who was the president that was the pallbearer at your funeral? Elijah, what was your favorite color?
right.
Here, stand over there with Daddy and see if he can help you some. Let him hear it too. You ask questions, Father. hard, isn't it?
Eliza, who was the president that was a pallbearer at that museum?
But remember, he said that it come through that girl's too. So if 10 pops up 20 times on her thing, you know?
Because the very first time I said, you know, when did you die?
It said Friday.
Perfectly clear. We heard Friday.
That's one. Go ahead, you ask her. Maybe she likes males.
Eliza, how old were you when you died? Eliza, what day of the week did you die?
Alright, Riley, you got anything coming out of there now?
Me and Dad heard Friday.
Friday.
Come out really
No,
clear.
the very first time I asked her, I said, Eliza, when did you die? And like super clear, we heard the word Friday. Like super clear. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but like that was.
I'm gonna look to see what, because we have something that's kind of relative to Eliza's birthday from another spirit box, so I'll see what day of the week that was, and that might actually kind of match up. We don't know yet.
Okay.
But I am gonna pull everybody from us. Have we seen any numbers on yours or any colors on yours? Talking to you, Chris. No. Do you have any colors on your box? Nope. And any numbers coming up on yours, Keith? All right. So I always kind of like to know, get a reading ahead of time. First off, I should let you know where we're at. This is the Eliza and Charles Pinckney Mansion site. So we're going to talk about these folks, but I do like to warn the spirit boxes first and foremost. I am not going to be giving you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse, like what we did over there with the red barn. You will get the answers from your spirit boxes. There's at least one in every single party. So that way you guys can actually all listen in some way, shape, or form. Now, who the heck were these people? Eliza and Charles had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 different Charleses. Now you know why we look for the secondary verifiers. That's 3 different Chucks. I need to know which one we're chatting with. So again, keep that in mind. Now, as far as who they were, Eliza married Charles, and well, I guess first off, they're kids. Eliza and Charles had a son named Charles, and heck, I said that already, didn't I? Holy cow. Wonderful.
You're at 2, you're at 4.
Of course, now I am. Just weird. So, does it say Eliza already? How high? Do you have anything higher than that for work?
Stop before.
Okay. And Chris, what do you have on yours?
It went up to yellow, but I thought it might just be wrong.
Just watch it close enough. Not yet. I'm going to show you how to use it. My apologies for that repeat, folks. The son and the nephew, signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. Now, it's a pretty big deal for us, but I hate politics more than everybody here. So we're actually going to move on and talk more about Eliza. What's funny is her name showed up on our way out to be here last night. So again, it was almost like a last minute letting us know that she was actually here. We had a lot of activity going on. So Eliza married Charles at a young age according to today's standards, not the colonial times that she came from. So if you're going to ask her how old she was when she got married, it is not going to be numbers like 12 and 14, just so you have that idea. It is going to be according to today's standards. Now, she married Charles because her father over in England thought he was dying. And he was trying to bring all of his kids home one last time. He thinks he's going to be gone, so he just wants to see his kids. But Eliza didn't think he was dying, so she stayed put, and she got married. I'm looking at your colors, that's why I'm getting a little distracted. You got all the way up to 20. That's good. So he's getting some pretty high readings over here. So lay it flat, Chris, just to make sure we're not getting any kind of misnomers from it being tilted the wrong way. There you go. Yep. So that way we can all kind of keep an eye on it. It's 1744 when she married Charles. So you're not marrying in 1744 over here to get a green card because we're not even a country yet. So she did marry Charles out of love, and even after he died, because remember he's over double her age, that she remained a widow this entire time. Instead, her father was getting better, which means Eliza was right, and he starts sending her indigo from England to this base. Now, you guys have all been in town for at least an hour or two that I know of. You've seen the word indigo somewhere. Indigo is a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. That's how we use it today. But when she got these seeds from her dad, she didn't know what to do with them. So she had to learn from her slaves on how to keep them cultivated in our weird temperatures. It's not always hot here. So when she figured it out, she moves it to a plantation south of here and calls her dad up and says, the rice plantations are going downhill. We can make a killing with all of this indigo. And now we have an international businesswoman during colonial times. So, again, that's her business. Now we're going to go through some of the weird stuff before I start working with Keith on that motion sensor. So go ahead and cool your lasers for a minute. And Tish, come on in so you can kind of hear all of these questions. Because Riley's going to be asking specific questions. But we're going to start with Madison. So Madison, I'm going to have you ask questions about the children. I told you there's at least one. His name was Charles, right? You can ask how many kids she had and what their names were. But that's it. The reason why I'm telling her that's it is because there's a tragedy among those kids. If we poke the bear towards this very respectable woman, we are going to piss her off, basically. And all activity will stop, including the readings that we're getting out of the EMF meters. So, names and how many total that there actually were. If you get those kind of answers, we'll kind of proceed and see where else we want to go with that. As far as yours, I want you to ask about Eliza's death. Anything you want to. How old she was, what she died from, where she's buried, and what president was a pallbearer at her funeral. So again, very specific questions going along with that. Your spirit box. So Russ, the mansion's not here anymore. You can obviously ask what happened to it, and then when did that happen? These are the kinds of answers that we get out of that type of spirit box, because they're usually 1 to 2 syllable answers. But again, obviously you can kind of already guess that it's a tragedy of some sort. So kind of keep that in mind. Let's see. How do I want to do this? So, Mom, I'm going to go with yours first. Eliza was the second wife, named Eliza, back to back with Charles. It's either really smart or really stupid, fellas, no matter how you look at it. But again, it's one or the other. Ironically, both Elizas have a maiden name that starts with the letter L. Find out which Eliza we're dealing with by asking her maiden name. I have seen both maiden names on your list in this space in the past. That's why I'm giving those questions to you. Maya. I want you to ask how old Eliza was when she got married, and if you get an answer, ask how old her husband was, because he was over double her age. It's a pretty big number. So you're going to stick to those because, again, your spirit box can be hard to listen to, so I'm giving you some simple questions to see if we can get an answer out of it first before I give you more. All right, so everybody knows what they're doing with their laser grids by now, like you guys were already demonstrating really, really well. So Chris, are you snapping pictures already, or have you just been kind of waiting? Perfect. So I am going to work with Keith for a few minutes just to show him how to use that motion sensor. For those of you with cameras, keep in mind there are parked cars in here, and it looks like everybody's coming to their cars, which is great. Like, let them get out of our way. We do not go in between vehicles, but we are going to stay within the confines of these walls. I will be bouncing around with all of you, writing very copious notes, but I do have to write down the readings that we've gotten so far. So you got all the way up to the first red one, is that correct, Chris? And then you went all the way up to 4.4? 16. Holy mackerel.
saw 11.1 to 16 on the second.
So 20 on the K2. And you had those little ones, right? 3.4 and like a 4.2.
2, 4, 6.
And you said you saw an 11 on there?
11.1.
11.1, and then a 16.2. So at this point, we're going to escalate it. Anything above 16.2, that way I'm not writing pages and pages of numbers. So again, not that they're not significant, but I want to see how high we can actually get this guy to actually go. All right, everybody, let's spread out. Nice slow movements on those cameras. Let's get the laser grids working. So Bobby, no pressure on you, but those lasers will make car alarms go off, so kind of keep them on the ground. That's why I say make sure they're touching your toes. All right, spread out. Keith, you're going to hang out with me for a few. Chris, you can do it too if you want to see how this works.
Over here.
That's what we're doing. Alright, we gotta ask a question. Either one, just ask. Is she speaking into that or just the camera? Okay, ask another question. You're not talking into that, Riley.
You're just talking.
How old were you when you died? How did you die?
Alright, let's go over to the corner. You hear anything? Ooh.
Riley.
Riley. You stand over there in the corner. You've got to tell him that. Ask the same questions again.
How old were you when you died?
Ask him.
How did you die?
What else did he tell you to ask?
Who was the president of the wedding? Somebody at the
Who
wedding.
was the president that was the pallbearer?
At her funeral. Who was the president that was the pallbearer at her funeral?
Who was the president that was the pallbearer at your wedding?
Funeral. Alright, why don't you just walk in front of me, Bobby, and I'll follow you. Keep that stuff going.
How this is going to roll, but yeah, definitely turn it up so you can kind of get a gist of how it actually sounds. So, Riley, do you have the gist of how yours sounds already? You got the gist of that? Good deal. All right, so
Do I need just the antenna out?
not yet. We're going to talk about that again at your second stop. Because that's where we're going to start using the motion sensor.
Only stop somewhere I can.
And I heard you have the volume piece down on yours, right? You figured out how to turn it up and down? Good deal. Oh, we don't need to yet. I just want to make sure she knew how to get to it. All right, so let's talk about why we started here. Of course, most of you just dined or had a quick drink in Big John's. Probably not enough drinks that you wanted to, right, Sasquatch? So, of course, the place is haunted. That's why we started here. So, Big John's. This place used to be owned by a football player. His name was Big John Kennedy. He played for the 1947 New York Giants. Whenever I'm giving you the history of a building or a space, I will always slow down on the keywords because of the 6 spirit boxes we're using. Keywords here are going to be 47, New York, Giants, and anything relatable to a bar and the name John. Obviously the name John. But anyway, he used to sit in the back of the bar and he would tell the bartender, the cadets coming over from the Citadel, if they were old enough to drink or not. But one night, 2 guys come in, they're not old enough to drink. So Big John has the bartender throw them out, and they leave pretty pissed off. They come back the next night and they try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. John sees what's going on and he slams down his beer and he goes over and just starts pounding on these guys right into the floor. A couple of gunshots go off. John gets grazed in the neck and a bullet lands behind him in the wall. After being the only one that's been shot, John gets up and goes back to the bar and tells the bartender to get him another beer, get the 2 guys on the floor, and then now, normally if I tell you that a building is haunted, it's not rap music playing. No, I'm kidding. Just making sure you guys are paying attention. If I tell you a place is haunted, you automatically think of some kind of tragic death that actually occurred in that space. What's haunting this place is the bullet hole. It's allegedly still here. When I say allegedly, the new renovation of Big John's may have filled it in, which means that Big John's blood is still in the wall. There's no way they got every single drop of it out before it dried up. So, people that sit in the front of this bar tend to get a little queasy, nauseous, or headache. This is kind of a heated warning. If anybody feels any of those symptoms tonight, I need to know immediately. First, we're going to blame the heat and humidity, but we're going to be dealing with paranormal activity, and I don't know how it's going to affect you. So I did have a young lady get sick on the tour a few nights ago, but of course we blame the heat and humidity because it was really bad that night. Because that's just how we roll. Not everything's going to be paranormal, just so you know. Now, a couple of you just looked at me like, seriously, like, what the hell did we sign up for? That's okay. We're going to move on. Because we got moms here, and we don't need, worried moms through the whole night. We had a big earthquake here in 1886. If you didn't already know that from another history tour, now you do. Every tour guide will talk about that earthquake because this is South Carolina. We're supposed to have hurricanes, not earthquakes. This building is allegedly where the first death occurred from that earthquake. They say a piece of the mantle that you see in the middle of the building broke off and hit somebody in the back of the head and killed him, and that you can see his ghost in the middle of East Bay Street in the middle of the night. It was not him flying by with all those bright lights, just so you know. Yes, you're still paying attention. Good. You're all still here. So, I say apparently and allegedly a lot with that story because I don't have any proof. It's just a great segue, so none of the moms that I ever get on the tour thinking about their kids getting sick on the tour, even though I just brought it up again. So, is everybody ready to go play Scooby-Doo and see what kind of ghosts we can find?
Yep.
All right, I say we do this. We're going to go this way.
I'm just afraid I'm going to get hit. People drive like crazy through here. Oh, they'll hit you first. Ooh, I don't get hung by that. Oh, stop. Huh? Oh, okay.
Almost there.
Oh, maybe it is.
You know what's funny is that's my middle name. You think I'd actually remember that? But I started on that Sasquatch bit and it's going to be stuck with me all night long. All right, everybody, welcome to your first stop. We're not going to spend a lot of time here. It's just so we can talk more about your devices. This is the Big Red Barn lot. This is where we keep the horses, at least some of them, through your carriage rides. You guys can probably smell them. I'm out here 7 nights a week, so I'm pretty much immune to the smell of horses. So, the history here is really simple. This is the same red barn that held horses that used to deliver milk and eggs to the residents of Charleston. So, keywords here are going to be delivery, milk, eggs, and anything relatable to a stable. Let's talk about spirit boxes, because we do have 6 of them in play. Let's make sure we got it straight on how we're going to be using these tonight. So, what's the first question everybody wants to ask when they get a communication device to a ghost, like a Ouija board or a spirit box? What do you think that question is?
What is that?
What is that?
How will I die? Are you listening?
Wow, you guys got a lot going on.
Am I going to get an attachment?
Who are you?
It's normally as anybody here. You guys just gave me like 12 new questions. So, some of those were yes and no questions, which will still prove my point. So if you ask is anybody here, and then Madison hears no, that means somebody's here. So we are not going to be asking yes or no questions all night long. Man, that was actually kind of went on for a minute. You guys had them going. But at the same time, let's give you an example of things that I will kind of give you throughout the night. In a space like this, when I'm teaching people how to use a spirit box, I normally tell you to ask a question you already know the answer to. For example, If somebody's here, tell me what color the big red barn is. Obviously, we are looking and listening for the color red. I say looking because Renee has a word list. She doesn't have to listen. The rest of you are using song lyrics and DJs to convey messages back to us in a possible disembodied voice. But the word red might not be available to the DJ or song lyric. But fire truck, blood, heart, those three things are specifically red. I would actually take that as an acceptable answer. What color is the big red barn? Blood. Good with that. However, most of the night I'm going to require that there's at least two happenings going on, whether it's from the same device or not, to be able to verify what's going on. Another example. Let's say Renee's word list has the word art on it. That doesn't mean anything to us over here. But then Russ hears the number 40 come out of his spirit box. Together, Art Faircloth was number 40 on Big John's team. You guys see where I'm going with this about putting all the clues together? You're like in an escape room. You're not on a normal ghost tour. So again, it's about putting all of these clues together to see what's actually going to match up. Most of the night, I will say, like, that's a great first clue. Let's wait for a secondary verifier. You'll hear that term come out of me a lot. However, a lot of those verifiers may come out tomorrow morning when we're reviewing the data, when I'm going through it tonight, tomorrow morning. But again, I am going to withhold information on purpose in a lot of these locations, so that way all of you actually have a genuine experience. I'm not going to tell you everything I know about every single space we're going to. Sometimes things just start popping up, and I'll say, that's a great first clue. Let me wait for that second one so I can actually tell you that extra bit of information. So, now that you guys have a better gist of how to use those spirit boxes, let's talk about these cameras, and then we're going to roll on because I'm actually going to have to work with Keith on his device at the next location. So we're going to start with the thermal imaging camera. So, Andrew, not Sasquatch, you're going to try to do two things for us. Well, first off, I guess to all cameras, whether you have a digital camera or not, Chris. So we're going to be in spaces where there's going to be cars and people walking by. People don't like their cars to be filmed, and they definitely don't like to be filmed or pictures taken of them by themselves. So we're not going to be vloggers out here. We're investigating. So with your camera, I'm going to have you try to do two things. Even though I said don't record people, I do want you to try to keep one of us in view at all times. Why? We're the warmest thing out here, no matter how hot and humid it is for us. So that array of color is because of our heat coming off of our skin. Much easier to find a cold spot if there's heat in there. The other piece of that, keep the sky out of view. The blue dot is looking for a surface. There's no surface on the sky, and will always default to the sky looking for the coldest area. So if you can, keep the sky out. So people in, sky out, if you can, on the sky. So yours is nice and simple, nice and slow movements. Tish and Bobby. Bobby, point one of your lasers down for me. Perfect. So Tish, you're not going to be pointing your camera directly down at it. You're going to take 2 steps away from him, and you're going to be shooting straight through it because we're looking from something from here to here. It's going to show up in between. If we're looking down at it, we won't be able to see all of the movement that might actually be going on. So again, this isn't an always, especially with the thermal imaging camera too, like an in-the-moment type catch. So sometimes, like I caught something last night we didn't know was even there, and it actually showed up in a digital picture from the green laser. So again, I don't know what exactly it was, but it was a weird movement that actually came through because you could see the laser that was once it was there. So again, if you're going to use both of them in tandem, you don't want to cross the streams. It's a bad Ghostbusters joke, but it's a perfect example. You want to use them side by side to make sure you have 2 laser grids pointing down at the ground, and that way the ghost actually has a little bit more play to be able to actually work with. Do you kind of see where I'm going with that? Yep. So basically have 2 pyramids working down this way. All right. Any major questions that I can answer about your devices before we get away from football players and ponies? Wow, you guys are super silent. We're going to get you guys working.
Did you hear anything?
All right, let's go learn much deeper history than the ponies and get away from this space. Now, you guys have a better chance.
So if I can smell you, I'm too close to you.
Love that.
Right?
I just got it.
If I can smell Dad, I'm too close.
I like your static.
You excited? You excited? You're gonna be buying this stuff? Pay off them credit cards, huh? You can't do that. You can't do that.
No, we
You
won't.
do something.
No, we won't be buying it. We can borrow it from
No, I don't
Older
borrow
Brian.
people's stuff.
Oh.
Not like that. That costs more than I can replace it. Huh? I wouldn't want his. I wouldn't want his. Too much work.
You know, Calhoun is buried here. That was Jackson's vice president. So, very interesting. See if something pops up actually out of that. Very cool. Every hotel down here has a haunted plane, just so you guys know. If you're unsure of what it is, just Google it. You'll find it. Now, welcome to your parking lot. Congratulations, you made it. I know, a weird space, but I told you I was taking you to weird spaces. This place used to be something. It's recording now just to make sure that the humidity is not going to affect it. It hasn't the past few nights, but we're going to start it early anyway. So, Tish, this one's actually going to go to you. So, don't be afraid of it. It's got a little bit of a weight to it. There you go. You were right the first time. That where you had it, that's the handle. Perfect. I mean, you can handle that any way you want to.
Okay.
But, I like to kind of get this out of the way to make sure it goes to the right party, because it's really the only two-person job. So let me kind of get this in and out of the way. This is the neuralizer for Men in Black. Nobody's going to remember anything. We're done. Yes, you're laughing. Good. Means you're going to have a good time. Awesome. So we're working with lasers here. Wow. So the whole point with the lasers is the camera I just handed Tish. You can see the lasers like a Christmas tree. So if anything passes through the lasers, it's the only time you can actually see them. So in the event we capture something on that camera, I'll be able to take the still and give you the still to show you what we actually caught. Now, we're going to be using two different style of laser. This one gives us red squares. In the event something passes through here, and obviously my hand is in the red squares, I can put that still in a 3D software and give you a full 3D view of what we caught along with measurements of what we caught. So again, I've had this guy for about a year now, and every picture I tried to put in there where we actually caught something with this particular laser, it's been slightly too blurry for the software to be able to take. So hopefully we get some nice slow motions out of Tish tonight, and then, oh my God, I lost another name. Other Sasquatch. Bobby. Bobby?
Yeah. Bobby.
All right, so Bobby, you're going to get these. And what's funny is I actually have it right tonight, because I want the short person to have the camera, the tall person to have the lasers. So the reason why is because you're going to have a much higher reach, and she's going to want to keep the camera low because we're shooting through the laser.
Okay.
So again, this one has a button. Yes, you have to hold on. It's right where my finger's dangling on it, so you have to press it to hold it. This one has a light switch. So once it's on, it's on. You have to turn off the light switch to be able to shut it off. When you're using them, make sure that they both touch the tip of your toes. So that way you know you have them in control, because there is a laser law in Charleston. We don't want to be flashing cars.
Okay.
So again, there you go. Those ones both go to you, sir.
Thank you.
Spirit boxes. Let's get into those. Spirit boxes are a way for us to communicate with the dead. Who doesn't love a good spirit box, right? So spirit boxes on your TV shows. This is basically your radio sweeper, the white noise that you guys normally hear, and then basically your host of the show is going to tell you the BS he thinks he heard and try to get you to be convinced of the same thing. We're doing this in real time. However, I have mine slowed down on purpose. None of you are trained to listen to white noise for 2 hours, plus the history I'm going to give you. Somebody's going to fall asleep, because we all use white noise to fall asleep these days. So the slow downness of this makes the radio chatter actually come through. It's another method you can use. It's going to give us a lot of radio chatter, song lyrics, DJs, commercials, those kind of things. I want you guys to tell me what you're hearing out of this as far as the radio chatter. To get disembodied voices like what they show you on TV is a rarity. Doesn't mean we won't capture them. I'm just telling you it is hard to catch. However, things coming out of the radio stations, a 50-50 shot of tying it to where we are, a person in history we're discussing, or even something going on with one of you. It happens pretty much on a nightly basis. So when I say pretty much, it's like a 98% chance we're going to capture something with this guy. Now, Madison's going to have earbuds in. She's going to be the only ones that actually hear this in real time, but hers is recording. So tomorrow morning, you guys are going to get the recording back with my notes of things that I find when I spot check it, and I'll be writing down whatever Madison hears in real time. So again, you're going to have 2 sets of notes from this recording. So Madison, the only thing I need you to worry about, first off, your earwax is gross. You get to keep the earbuds. So those are yours. I don't want them back. Undo the twist tie, and your volume button is the wheel. So remember, you're listening for the radio stations to start coming through and see what you hear out of that. No, the Estes method is where you have both of them in your ears and you don't know what questions we're asking. You're just going to have one earbud in. I have 2 of those. However, the second one is not going to record. So I'm going to be relying on the person in real time to be able to write down the notes that come out of this. I lost your name too. You guys are the first ones here, and I'm forgetting everybody's name over there.
Riley.
Riley, thank you. So Riley, you're going to get the second one.
Okay.
So again, your earwax is also nasty. You get to keep that. Your volume button is the wheel at the top. So
Okay.
again, I'm going to be relying on you in real time to be able to tell us what's going on.
Okay.
Let's get out to the crazy spirit box. Russ, you have by Russ or Russell?
Either one.
Either one. You're going to get the newest spirit box. Just because you've been chit-chatting with me all week, and I want to give you something super fun to do. So this one in particular is going to sweep through the FM and AM radio stations at the same time, and it's going to attempt to take out the white noise that Madison and Riley are listening to. It doesn't always do the best job with that, but you're only going to hear about 10 to 12 things that are going to actually come out of this channel. So again, those 10 or 12 terms, 75% of them will be relevant to our location. So, hello.
Hi.
You're probably on the wrong tour because I already have all my people.
Alright.
So you're probably looking for Bulldog, which is up by the gas lamp, make a left.
Well, thank
You're welcome. Probably already left without you. Did I say that out loud? I sure did, didn't I? See why I have you guys tell me your names, and that way I know who I'm working with? So the only thing you need to worry about with yours, Russ, is how to hold it. So this is obviously the front of it, the speaker's down here, the blinking lights are the top. The right-hand side has one button, it's the mute button. Right now I have the mute button pressed because we're going to be near Pony soon. I'll let you know when it's safe to unmute your spirit box. It's on the right-hand side on the spine. Yep, you got it. Right there.
You'll go out like this.
No, you'll hold it so you're looking at the lights.
I'm looking out the light.
Yeah,
Okay.
that way the speaker's
Really
coming
is.
at you.
That's it.
I use lots of spirit boxes. So, the next one, and I try to put one in every single group, which you guys don't have one yet, do you? I didn't think so, because I'm on top of things. So your spirit box. This one, we don't have to listen to it, which is super great. It's doing all the listening for us. So it's going to give us words from time to time in the center of the screen. So this one would replace an obelisk if you're fans of the TV shows. This has 36,000 terms and phrases in its dictionary. 80% of this is going to be garbage because this is a phone app. So again, we're going to be playing the game. Is it coming from a ghost or is it coming from the phone app itself? I love this guy. Why? Because it's going to save all of those words and terms into a list with timestamps. It helps me to know where to listen to a spirit box, where to watch the recordings, and so forth and so on. So with that being said, I'm going to clear out last night's tour. They had 97 terms and phrases come up. They actually had a really good list. There was probably about 18 terms out of their list that were actually relevant to our spaces. So with that said, I'm actually going to hand this off to Renee. I don't want to see every single word that pops up. I will come to you when I want to see. Let's see. Maya, I'm going to give you the hardest spirit box that you have. Lucky you. Now, yours is because it's an older style of spirit box, it doesn't have earbuds. So, you are going to have to control the volume on making sure that you can actually hear this thing, and that way everybody can hear it. One of the reasons why I'm giving this to you is because Sasquatch Dad over there, his camera actually records audio, so if you miss something, it's okay. It's going to come up on the audio as long as you stay close to that camera. The only thing you need to worry about is the volume. It's right here on the side of the ball speaker. You roll it up and hold it there to get the volume, and then when I say let's turn them down, you just roll it down and hold it there. So that way it'll go all the way down. It's not a keep pressing it or whatever. You roll it there. So get used to where that volume button is. Alright, who do we got left?
So what are you supposed to tell him?
Chris.
Yes.
We're going to keep you busy, man.
Like, you got that?
So, you guys have seen these on your TV shows, just so you guys know, like the little blinky lights, right? That's what they show you on TV. They use these on TV because they're very, very sensitive. This is an electromagnetic field meter, EMF meter for short. So it's going to measure any kind of electricity, parking meters, buildings, cell phones, anything like that. We use this one to debunk a lot of things. So all you have to do is let me know what colors you're seeing, because we're going to use another one that Keith is going to be using. Look at me getting names right. And we're going to be able to compare both of them because his is digital, yours is not. So just let me know what colors you see, but you're going to be double-fisted. You're getting a digital camera as well. So I don't normally hand this to teenagers because they don't know what the hell it is. Again, this is a quick point and shoot. There is no flash on this. So when you're taking pictures, nice and still. Otherwise, everything's going to turn out blurry. And again, blurriness, and the reason why we keep the flash off is because we don't want any false positives in our photographs. You can take 5 pictures, you can take 500 pictures. I'm going to go through them all regardless, and selfies get deleted. So Madison, no selfies. All right, so you get both of those. I'll keep you very, very busy. And the reason why I did this way is because Madison has an extra earbud. You can actually help her listen, and you have it upside down. Wow, did I give it to the wrong person? There you go.
It is a spirit.
There we go. All right, Keith. You look like a very scientific man. You're going to have your thumb on everybody's gear with the device I'm going to give you. Yes.
Good.
So, with that said, this is what we call a millimeter. What this guy actually does, it has 3 different functions. It has the K2, like an EMF meter built into it, but again, like I said, it's digital. So anything on the big numbers above 2.5, I kind of want to know what's going on. We're going to debunk things first, and then we'll kind of see what's going on. The bottom is ambient temperature. If Sasquatch finds something over there on his camera, you and I can prove it or debunk it with the yellow probe at the top. It's measuring the ambient air around it. The last thing that it has is it has a REM pod or motion sensor. So if something gets close to that antenna that I just pulled out, it's going to go off. I'm not touching it right now. So if something just kind of breezes by it, it's going to go off. The closer it gets, obviously the higher pitch. We're going to talk more about that at our second stop. So we'll start talking about that when we're going to start using it. But for now, just kind of get used to how those numbers actually work.
What's that called?
That's a millimeter. Mel, M-E-L. All right, the bag is empty, which means everybody's geared up.
Excited?
Yes.
Huh?
The volume button is at the top.
How am I
Remember,
supposed to help you
wheel,
listen?
not
I
the
don't even
button,
know what I'm
the
supposed to
wheel.
listen to.
Nope, not the button. Next to the button. Yeah.
What are you supposed to hear?
The
Somebody
button
says, hey.
right here. To your right, there's a wheel in there.
Alright.
So just kind of feel for that way. It's
Hang
inlays
up.
there a little bit. I
Do
know
I
it's
just
kind of
like
hard to find.
say it out randomly or?
For the most part, you can, but I will be following up with every person at each.